Good afternoon. I'm Sung Kim, Director of the Boeing Institute of International Business at the John Cook School of Business, St. Louis University. We would like to thank the Boeing Company and the other co-sponsors whose names are listed in the program. At this time, I would like to call on Mr. Jack Prulich, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, St. Louis University, to provide the opening remarks. Mr. Prulich.
Thank you. As Chairman of the Board of Trustees of St. Louis University, I am proud to welcome His Excellency Ban Ki-Moon to St. Louis University for this truly historic event. In addition, I would like to recognize Jeff Rainford, the Chief of Staff to St. Louis Mayor and SLU alumnus Francis Slay. The Mayor sends his regrets that he cannot join us today. I would also like to acknowledge Missouri Governor Jay Nixon. Governor, I hope you're enjoying your first trip to St. Louis University as governor, and we look forward to having you back for many more visits in the forthcoming years. We thank other government leaders who are represented here today and appreciate their staff joining us for this important address. A special thank you to the Boeing Company for its generous sponsorship of this annual event and for its continued support of the Boeing Institute for International Business at St. Louis University. For a quarter of a century, the Boeing Institute has been an exceptional leader in international business education, preparing our students for careers in the ever-shrinking world. Lastly, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Dr. Sung Kim, founder and director of the Boeing Institute. He recognized the need for global business education long before others and has done a great deal of work in connection with this event today. Dr. Kim? Frankly, St. Louis University is a perfect stage for the Secretary General to give his address today. For nearly 2 centuries, SLU has pursued its Jesuit mission of educating students to make a difference in the world. The core principles and goals of the UN epitomize the Jesuit values that guide this great university. We also embrace the enduring mission of the United Nations to bring peace, prosperity, and stability to our world. I know I speak for all of us when I say we are looking forward to hearing the Secretary General's insights on how we can solve the global and moral challenges our world faces today. Thank you very much.
I would like to invite Mr. Jeff Rainford, Chief of Staff for the Mayor Francis Office, to make a presentation.
On behalf of the Mayor, Father Biondi, we'd like to congratulate you on today's event. This is a real coup for St. Louis, and we're really proud that this is occurring in our city. Mr. Bond, welcome to St. Louis. St. Louis, I think as you know, is a very diverse city. We're a city founded by immigrants, and we're a city of people from very many nationalities, so we're really proud that you chose to come here to St. Louis. St. Louis is also obviously part of the Midwest, the breadbasket, and we look forward to hearing what we might be able to do and how we might be able to participate in addressing world hunger. But I'm primarily here today on behalf of the Mayor to award you with this proclamation, and for the audience here today, I'd like to read just a little bit of it. I'll skip a lot of the whereases and go down to whereas His Excellency has come to St. Louis to elaborate on his vision for solutions through his speech to our St. Louis metropolitan community given at the Boeing Institute at the International Business at St. Louis University, where he will address solving the world's food and security problems Now, therefore, I, Francis G. Slay, Mayor of the City of St. Louis, do hereby proclaim June 12, 2009 as His Excellency Ban Ki-Moon Day in the City of St. Louis, and it has his signature affixed to it. So congratulations and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Let me leave this with you. I think these guys want to... Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Elected in November 2008, J. Nixon is the 55th governor of Missouri. Prior to his role as governor, Mr. Nixon served as the Attorney General of Missouri from 1992 to 2008. Throughout his illustrious career, Governor Nixon has supported the faith, family, and community. As governor, he has fought to make government more efficient and effective for the citizens of Missouri. He strongly supports the state's business community and is deeply committed to expanding educational opportunities for the children of Missouri. It is my great pleasure to introduce Missouri Governor J. Nixon.
Thank you. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to be here at St. Louis University on this important occasion. Your Excellency, on behalf of the people of Missouri, I welcome you to our state. We are honored by this visit and look forward to hearing your thoughts on how the nations of the world can work together to effectively address hunger. My special thanks also to Father Biondi, to the Boeing Institute of International Business, and to the Institute's director, Dr. Kim, for hosting this important event. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the tremendous financial challenges the worldwide economy is facing, the greatest in several decades, should not make us lose sight of the fact that such fundamental issues as famine can lead to global catastrophe far beyond that of the current economic downturn. It is fitting for this forum to take place here in St. Louis because the state of Missouri is a unique venue in which to discuss the global food crisis and food security. Thanks to our favorable weather, fertile soil, and a highly diversified agricultural industry, Missouri is among the United States' top producers of many agricultural products and livestock, including cattle, hogs, soybeans, corn, and cotton. Our agricultural exports, estimated to be worth more than $2 billion annually, demonstrate how agriculture continues to be the backbone of our state's economy. Missouri is also home to some of the world's leading agribusinesses, such as Monsanto and Purina, and some of the nation's largest agricultural trade organizations, such as the National Corn Growers Association and the American Soybean Association and the Dairy Farmers of America. Not to mention the growing reputation of the St. Louis region on both a national and international basis as home to vibrant, groundbreaking plant and life science research, including the work being done at the Donald Danforth Plant Center and companies like Novus. As you can see, Missouri has a very high stake in addressing the hunger and food security issues being faced by countries across the globe. We have faith that the United States and the other nations of the world can unite in facing and overcoming these challenges. So, Your Excellency, I thank you for your leadership and for your vision as we move forward to address and solve the world's problems with hunger and food security. Again, on behalf of the entirety of the great state of Missouri, We are very honored to have you speak at this event, and I would now like to make a ceremonial presentation to you of a gift in recognition of your high position and high capacity for good. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Since his inauguration as a president in 1987, Father Lawrence Biondi has led St. Louis University through a remarkable era of transformation and achievement. Widely recognized as one of the region's most influential leaders, Father Biondi has sought to extend St. Louis University's Jesuit mission far beyond St. Louis. One student population now includes international students from more than 80 countries. Father Biondi is a strong advocate for global academic programs promoting diversity in and out of a classroom. Under his visionary leadership, St. Louis University has become truly international institution of higher education. At this time, it is my great honor to introduce President of St. Louis University, Lawrence Biondi of Society of Jesus. Father Biondi.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Thank you, Dr. Kim. It is my honor to introduce our distinguished speaker, the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Ban Ki-Moon. But before I begin the formal introduction, I have been told on very reliable sources, other than the media, that tomorrow is the Secretary General's birthday. It's actually already his birthday in Korea. So please join me in wishing you a happy birthday. Mr. Bongi became acquainted with the ravages of war at a very early stage of his life. When he was just 6 years old, his family fled their home to escape the violence of the Korean War. And despite those early challenges, the Secretary General became an excellent student, winning an English competition and a trip to the United States. And during a visit to the White House, his group met with President Kennedy, and an encounter that inspired our general to become a diplomat. So after graduating from college, Mr. Bongi wasted no time beginning his illustrious career in diplomacy. And over the decades that followed, Mr. Bongi emerged as an international leader. In 2001, he earned even greater acclaim for his leading role in the United Nations resolution to condemn the terrorist attacks of September 11th. In 2006, Mr. Bongi was unanimously selected to serve as Secretary General of the United Nations, and he received full approval from all 192 member nations, a very clear sign that the world's leaders hold him in high regard. The Secretary General has used his platform to focus attention on world hunger, calling it a stain on humanity. And I could not agree more, and here at St. Louis University, we share his commitment to solving the international food crisis. We also deeply admire his noble pursuit of social justice for all of the world's citizens, and we are privileged to host him here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce to you the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Ban Ki-Moon.
Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down. Father Lawrence Biondi, President of St. Louis University, Honorable Governor Jeremiah Nixon, Governor of the State of Missouri, Mr. Jeff Rainfold, Mayor of City Representative, Dr. Kim, Mr. John Prolage, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, distinguished faculties, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your warm welcome, and thank you for your congratulations on my birthday. Let me say, before I begin my speech about my birthday, it is true that it is already my birthday in Korea, but still I can enjoy tomorrow in the United States, second birthday. Now, having served in the diplomatic service, I have been mostly celebrating my birthdays away home, from away home. Last year, I was congratulated my birthday by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth of United Kingdom. She recognized that was the day, but I couldn't say that was my birthday. Then from there, I flew to Saudi Arabia. Then King of Saudi Arabia, he congratulated me again on the same day. So I got two congratulations from two royalties. Now today, it is a great honor for me to have these congratulations from Governor and the President of St. Louis University, and from all citizens of this great state of Missouri. Thank you very much. Now, this is a part of my ongoing efforts as the Secretary General of the United Nations, how I can promote a better understanding and appreciation of American public on what United Nations has been doing and will have to do for peace and security and development and promotion of human rights. I've been traveling many places around the United States because I believe that the strong partnership and support of the United States is crucially important for me to carry out my duty as a Secretary General. It's just impossible to think that without strong support of the United States, then the United Nations can function properly. Now, I'm very glad that my team of the United Nations has now advanced to the very heart of America, the heartland of America, this state of Missouri and city of St. Louis. It's quite natural that I'm standing here, I'm visiting St. Louis and state of Missouri, where you have produced such a distinguished president, Harry Truman, whose vision has created the United Nations in 1945. And I'm very grateful for that far-sighted vision, who has given this idea of creating United Nations. Now here in the land of Harry Truman, the land of Mark Twain, and also of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, these are the characters I met as a schoolboy only in the textbooks. Now I am here in person. Let me say some other person, maybe Yogi Berra. My friends in New York, Yankee fans, insisted that I mention Yogi. Then I'll be loved by all of you. I also have a Missouri connection closer to home in New York. One of my senior advisors is from Missouri. Sometimes I used to have had some difficulty in understanding his English. So now here, I should pronounce Missouri instead of Missouri. I hope Governor would not mind. I cannot think of a better place to talk about the United Nations and United States can accomplish together in pursuit of the goals we share and hold each other. Just before coming to this university, I visited the Gateway Arch. Very impressive. It was a beautiful sight, a timeless symbol of America's expansion, and it's always a wide open promise. St. Louis has long been a gateway city, a window onto a new world. It is a center of aviation, as products and services reach all corners of the globe. In fact, you have to fly airplanes produced by Boeing. People from all over the world have come here to live, work, study, and enjoy the sights. I know that this is the home of many immigrants. This is something which United Nations is. We are intergovernmental body composed of 192 countries, virtually all the countries, except a few countries who have not joined the United Nations. You have hosted both World's Fair and Olympic Games in St. Louis, an achievement few cities in the world can claim. Your gateway makes me think of other portals. The ones I'm thinking of are not quite so monumental, but they are powerful and they tie our world even closer together. A computer screen, a small computer screen, for example, that brings medical information from a research center here in St. Louis University to a patient in Sudan, in Africa. Or bloggers' account of life in a closed society that brings repression into the open society. Or consider a flu in one country that have to close down schools or sequence people in another. So we are now living in a very wide open but very closely connected world. Just this, you said this is an agricultural state. A sack of grain produced here, bearing a stamp of state of Missouri, finding its way to a villager in Mozambique in Africa, coping with flood and earthquake. The food on our tables, the movies we see, even the men and women you elect to the highest offices in this land, they and we are all part of one great globe, 21st century mix of peoples and traditions and products and ideas. We are living in an interdependent global village. This city's gateway symbolizes another eras of movement from east to west. Today's gateway takes in every direction, from east to west, from west to east, and from south and north, vice versa. Our world today is that intertwined. Therein lies both challenges and hope. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a closer look about this, where this grain of sand goes. Misery feeds America, or at least a good part of it. The bounty of your great state and of this country is the envy of many countries in the world. But as you know, many of the world's nations and their people lack such a bounty. Some 1 billion of the world's people, I call them a bottom billion, live on less than just $1 a day. If we expand, there are another 1 billion who live more than less than $2 a day. That means 1/3 of total population out of 6 billion. They live less than $2 a day. Hunger and malnutrition or undernutrition is their overwhelming reality, daily reality. Now imagine the price of food shooting upward as it has done last year and still continues. Last year, prices of staple food nearly doubled in the space of few months. For those such as the bottom billion, 1 billion whose life is miserable, they spent 2/3 of their income on food that was already tough blow. Families ended up eating 1 meal a day instead of 2, and some family members got to eat, but not others. And sometimes parents, they have to choose among their children whom to feed first, among their children. When that happens, children stop growing, they are too hungry to learn. When they become older, they are too weak to work to their full potential. So whole this society becomes weak. Families that spend more on food have less for health and education. And so the natural consequence is that downward spiral begins from there. Whole this society goes down. No one should face such choices. No one should face such privation, not in a world of such wealth. This is something which citizens in the United States don't simply understand. For a person like me who has traveled around the world, every corner of the world, and meet such people who are suffering from abject poverty, that every day is a very humbling day, a very sobering day for me. The food crisis has receded from the headlines. You don't see any longer in the newspapers as a headline. But we have not yet resolved this issue. We are still somewhere in the woods. The price spike was a reminder that world food systems have been in crisis for years and failed to serve the interests of those most in need within poor countries. It reminded us that investment in agriculture has been too low in recent decades, and that too many farmers in poor countries are unable to get the credit, the seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, and technologies they need for optimum productivity. The 500 million people, the smallholder farmers, they produce 80% of the agricultural product in Africa. But their counterparts in America or in Europe, with much lesser population, they produce much, much more than these people. We must address the challenge of food security. Those sacks of grain I mentioned are an essential emergency stopgap. It is good that the UN's World Food Program enjoys excellent ties with the United States and its farmers, including some of the organizations I had the pleasure to meet with this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, the food crisis is bad enough, but it was followed by, again, an economic crisis, world economic crisis. I know St. Louis has not been immune. No country, no companies are immune from this. Manufacturing has suffered. Demand for the products for misery's labors has diminished. Here too, it is again the poorest of the poor around the world who suffer most. People need jobs, societies need safety nets. And yet there are more crises, all weighing most heavily on those who can least adapt. Now, climate change threatens agriculture and the world's food supply. It threatens coastal areas where most of us live. Now, states like Missouri, you don't feel anything about the impact which comes from these coastal areas. But you have been hit by flooding. Dust bowls rise in wait too, as does extreme weather. You are no strangers to that either. But imagine what you know that's multiplied by 2, 10, or even more. Our planet is now getting warmer and warmer, much, much faster than one may think. We must be very sensitive. We must take urgent action to address these climate change issues. The scientists who have won the world just 2 years ago, they are now revising, changing their predictions because this global warming is accelerating much faster speed than they have predicted. This is a real fact. These scientists were Americans and whole world's top scientists. The world's leading economists are nearly unanimous, saying that the cost of action, if you take action now, this will be far less than the cost of inaction. Now you will regret that not taking any action, then you will have to catch up later with much, much more financial and technological resources. These challenges, food, finance, energy, and particularly our over-dependence on fossil energies, fuels, contain the seeds of instability in itself and social unrest. We cannot let things happen and get to that stage. The world is already coping with extremism and cascade of nuclear proliferations and terrorism. We do not want the world erupting in conflict over the environment and shrinking resources. Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't come to St. Louis looking for company in hard times. I'm here to enlist your help. If we are smart about it, if we drive at the connections among these problems, we can find smart answers. We are troubled. Everybody is concerned that this world somehow is experiencing multiple crises. I mentioned climate change, food crisis, fuel crisis, energy crisis. Now, flu, disease crisis, HIV/AIDS. On top of all this, we have been severely hit by global financial crisis. So the whole world has been shaken. But if we look very closely among all these crises, very carefully, you will see some common denominators. If you take one threat from one crisis very wisely and smart way, then you will find that this threat is connected with all these 5 or 6 crises. Therefore, solution to one crisis can be a solution to all. This is what world leaders are now looking at. This is what I have been looking at. And I have been very closely discussing this matter with the G20 leaders and G8 leaders and developing countries leaders. On food, we need to strengthen agricultural infrastructure before it is too late, increase productivity, and do away with unfair terms of trade. We need a new green revolution in Africa, where the sufferings and needs are most acute. We are working with the Gates and Buffett Foundations, and I hope the farming community will do its part. On the economic crisis, the United Nations is pressing major economies to agree on a global plan to restore growth and lending. We continue to sound the alarm so that recovery does not neglect the poor and the vulnerables. On again climate change, crucial negotiations have already been taken. Today, we have finished, the United Nations has concluded the first official negotiations on climate change in Bonn. The things are moving. We all have a stake in fighting climate change. I am encouraged that President Obama and his administration have taken very positive and forward-looking and engaging positions. Now, whole world are looking to the United States. How United States, as the richest and most resourceful country, and the most, I think, heaviest, the biggest emitting countries of greenhouse gas, that you have the political and historical responsibility. And I need the leadership and commitment of the America. Now here, I would like to really ask the mayors and governors of the United States. The policy may come from president, policy may come from United Nations, but what needs to be done should be done by the governors, should be done by the mayors and county chief executives. So therefore, the federal government and local government, all these initiatives and commitment should be met together. What I can say is top-down and bottom-up should be combined together. Therefore, I'm really counting on the leadership and commitment of the United States government and Governor Nixon and Mayor Francis Slay. These are crucially important. This morning, I visited Boeing. I don't need how important this company is. I was very much impressed. The way they have contributed in terms of aeronautics and science, technology, that's phenomenal, that's fantastic. Now, I have urged the CEOs and Boeing company leaders, and also other business leaders whom I had the meeting this morning, that they should look at this changing the dynamics now. They can look at this green economy, cleaner energy, and green growth. I'm very much encouraged that all business communities are now looking at green economy, clean energy, and green growth. These are exactly what we have to achieve at this time. The United Nations fights on many other fronts as well. Our development and humanitarian workers span the globe. They feed and vaccinate our children. They give shelters to refugees and displaced persons. Our peacekeepers, peacekeeping forces, we have 110,000 soldiers around the world. In a sense, I'm the second biggest commander-in-chief, only next to President Obama, who is having more soldiers abroad. 110,000 in 18 countries, 18 missions. This is a huge operations now. We have soldiers in Darfur, Kosovo, Democratic Republic of the Congo, and 15 other places too. We are delivering aid to those displaced. by internal conflicts in Pakistan and Sri Lanka and Somalia. There are millions and millions of displaced persons or refugees. We are helping Haiti rebuild from 4 devastating tropical storms. We have helped Iraq and Afghanistan stage free and fair elections. And we are pushing Israelis and Palestinians back to Middle East peace process. And it was under United Nations auspices that the first global anti-terrorism strategy was adopted. We are making progress, but we want to do more. We need your material and your moral and political support. Ladies and gentlemen, that support should come quite naturally to you in the heartland. You are generous, you are practical, and you know good value when you see it. At the same time, I know you have to earn it. That is why I'm committed to United Nations reform. I know too that much of what the United Nations does can seem remote to some of you. Whatever I do, whatever many peacekeepers are doing around the world, it may sound very remote business to most of you when you are living in heartland like this. But I'm always conscious when Americans pay your dues to the United Nations, 22%. Americans pay 22%, and that's more than 1/5. And 27% for peacekeeping operations. That's much more than, again, 1/5. Then I have to be accountable to American taxpayers, not because I'm American citizens, but as Secretary General of the United Nations, representing 192, particularly one most important member state, United States, then I am conscious that this money, every single dollar, is being spent effectively and wisely and in an accountable way to the purpose of what you have given money. That is a reform of the United Nations to make this organization established with the vision of Harry Truman become a most trustful and most effective and efficient one. That's my commitment to the citizens of the state of Missouri. It is UN agencies now that set standards for air travel, telecommunications, and shipping. It is again the United Nations that establishes the norm that protect intellectual property. We help make people, we make possible life in the global village. We are also always on the alert for new and emerging global threats. Now, I'd like to tell you briefly about this flu. When avian flu hit the world in 2005, we knew that another flu challenge would not be far behind. We put in place a system of coordinated global response. And indeed, yesterday, the World Health Organization has announced and elevated the alert level from 5 to 6. This is a pandemic situation. We are living in a pandemic situation now, as far as this flu is concerned. This is for the first time since 40 years that flu pandemic has been declared. But fortunately, the severity of disease is not that serious. It's rather mild. The death rate has been very low, but we must be watchful. We must be watchful. That we must work hard. And for people like Americans living in an affluent society should be ready to provide and help those people living in developing countries who do not have capacity to buy vaccines. And I'm now in the process of mobilizing all these necessary assistance and the resources. Ladies and gentlemen, our response is bringing results for global public health now. But it is also showing a new kind of global cooperation and problem solving at work. I call it a new multilateralism. It operates through stronger partnerships and alliance, not just among governments, but civil societies, business communities, and foundations and philanthropists. All these should coordinate each other. Such cooperation has brought us close to eliminating death from malaria. It's my, again, commitment that we will try to eliminate the malaria death by 2015. We have almost eliminated polio in the world, on this earth, except 4 places. We have eliminated smallpox on the earth, and even HIV/AIDS is coming under control slowly but steadily. Now we want to see some similar cooperation on all the other global challenges. These days, now I'm emphasizing, wherever I meet and whenever I meet people, emphasizing the importance of multilateralism, due multilateralism. Now when we are addressing these all multiple crises, no one country or single person or organization can address these issues alone. In the past, even in 1950s, 60s, it used to be United States with the mightiest resources and power, military power, economic power, and natural resources. Whatever United States wanted to do, it was possible. When you are dealing with a global economic crisis, energy crisis, and food crisis, climate change, then however powerful you may be, resourceful maybe, you cannot do it. We need to address this multiple crisis through global response, through global partnership, demonstrated by global leadership. There we need to have this new multilateralism firmly established. This new multilateralism, harnessed by principle and resources, and new multilateralism, which can deliver global goods for whole people around the world. And in this new multilateralism, you cannot find any better organization than the United Nations. This is the largest and most universal body in the world. Therefore, I need your support. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I speak highly of the United Nations, not just because I'm the Secretary General of the United Nations. I know this from personal experience. When I was a small boy, I was born in 1944, just before the end of World War II, and when I became the first grader, the Korean War broke out. In the middle of Korean War, and immediately after that, I was growing up knowing that, experiencing how the hunger looked like, how the fear and threat of being alone and not being taken care of properly by my parents and by my country. My school, there was no classrooms. I had to sit on the dirt and open air. There were no walls. In these circumstances, it was the United Nations, mostly led by the United States, who provided massive economic and social assistance. Korean people were fed and educated, and they studied hard. And that's why now Korean people are enjoying their prosperity and democracy now. Then at that time, United Nations was the beacon of hope to us. The flag itself was the sign of hope, symbol of hope. Now to hundreds of millions of people around the world, if you travel, United Nations is still the beacon of hope to them. Whenever I see them, I am humbled. What else? What more? How much can I do for these people who are looking to me? I don't remember them, but they will clearly remember me as a Secretary General. Then I'm always humbled. Then what can I do for them? So I start every day as if this is my first day, always motivated, always committed to work for these people. This is why I see it as my responsibility to be a champion of the poor. I work for the poorest people. I work as a voice of many voiceless people. I work and I defend many defenseless people. Now, 60 years ago, let me again go back to President Harry Truman. He laid the cornerstone of the United Nations headquarters in New York. In laying down the cornerstone, President Harry Truman said, I quote, "These buildings are not a monument to the unanimous agreement of nations on all the things, but they signify one new and important fact. They signify that the peoples of the world are of one mind in their determination to solve their common problems by working together." He has already laid out the concept of new multilateralism. Those words offer guidance for our times too. We are about to refurbish the United Nations building, headquarters, which President Truman had laid down the cornerstone. I have to vacate my office at the end of October this year for several years until this building is renovated. This is an act of necessity after 50 years of this, since our electrical and other systems are woefully out of date, very old, very dangerous. But it is also a deliberate act of renewal. We hope to lead by example in building an environment-friendly complex. Most of all, we hope to revitalize our work with the fresh approaches and fresh thinking about global challenges. Our focus must be on results, every day on every challenge. Real results that help people live better lives and move our world toward peace. That is my philosophy. I know it is yours here in the Show Me state. I think you should show me what you can do for the United Nations. I'm sure that we can be a good team. The United Nations, State of Missouri, and this is going to be a powerful team. I come to you as an advocate, and now I ask you to become an advocate for the United Nations. St. Louis has always looked outward through the gateway and up and down your great rivers, the Mississippi and Missouri River. The United Nations has always its eyes on the horizon for common threats, but most of all, for common opportunities. I look forward to working with all of you in seizing them for the benefit of all, for the benefit of all humanity. And thank you again for your commitment And I'm very much grateful for your hospitality and your attention. Thank you very much.